Man, this is something, kind of rare here for the Boston source. Usually, don't do things like this. But I wanted to try to do a reaction video of sorts for the news that came down today. Kind of like following up from what I had posted yesterday when it came to the news of David Benavidez deciding to be at 175 pounds. And the thing about that one was that I had said yesterday that the reason that David Benavidez decided to be at 175 was that he pretty much knew that he was not going to be fighting Canelo Alvarez next at 168. And there was no point of him being down at 168 unless if he had a fight with Canelo Alvarez. Now, we pretty much now know Canelo agreed to terms to have a fight with Edgar Berlanga for September 14th at T-Mobile Arena. Man, listen, I didn't think it was going to happen. But hey, listen. Hey, Trill. Hey, what up, Trill? Oxtails say for this fight. Hey, listen. I forgot the name of that restaurant that's out there in Las Vegas where you could get like, like what is it, like lobster, like lobster tail. You get oxtails out there. The place costs like about $30, $40, $50. I mean, it's a good restaurant out there in Vegas. But listen, those oxtails over there in Vegas, they're gonna be safe for this fight because, man, I don't see myself there for this, man. It's crazy work. This is absolutely crazy work here for Canelo Alvarez to make this decision to agree to terms to fight Edgar Berlanga at T-Mobile Arena in September 14th, man. Everybody was saying, like, David Benavidez or bust. David Benavidez or bust for Canelo Alvarez. But nope, he pretty much opted to have this fight here with Edgar Berlanga. And listen, some people could have figured out some other opponents outside of Edgar Berlanga. Yeah, I know Edgar Berlanga is undefeated. He's at 22-0 with 17 wins by way of a knockout. Yes, I do know that currently he is ranked number 1 in the WBA rankings at super middleweight. But he has not basically had a fight that pretty much has stood out in the super middleweight division. Some people would say probably the closest thing that he's had is his fight against Romer Alexis Angulo back in 2022. But to be honest with you, Jaime Munguia had a better fight at 168 when he faced Sergey Derevyanchenko than Edgar Berlanga has at this particular point. And yet he's able to secure a bout here with Canelo Alvarez. His last bout was against Patrick McCrory over in Orlando back in February. I'm like, come on, that should not be anywhere close to being enough to be having him fight Canelo Alvarez. And yeah, they had pushed for that Canelo Alvarez fight back then. And even back, what was that, over in February, whatever it is, I said, you know what? Edgar Berlanga is not ready for a fight against Canelo Alvarez. There are a number of fights out there at super middleweight that Edgar Berlanga could have before getting in the ring with Canelo Alvarez. I pretty much said like Diego Pacheco is one of those fighters out there at super middleweight that, Edgar Berlanga could fight to pretty much like prove himself there as a viable contender in the super middleweight division. We couldn't even have that. We couldn't even have him against Vladimir Shishkin to prove himself. We couldn't even have him in a fight against Lester Martinez. Nah, not even him. Not even Christian and Billy out there. And Christian and Billy, that's another fighter. Christian and Billy, shoot, I could even take Christian and Billy fighting Canelo Alvarez over Edgar Berlanga right now. But this is what we got. This is what we got here. And for Canelo Alvarez to basically flat out decline fighting the David Benavidez at this particular point, at this particular juncture, when we all know that it is by far the biggest fight to make there at 168 pounds, and probably the biggest fight to make, I would say, anywhere north of 154 pounds right now, easily. So why not make the biggest fight that could be out there in boxing at this particular point, where you would get paid the most money by far? Nope. Looks like he wanted that guarantee. It's pretty much that safe guarantee out there to face Edgar Berlanga. Now, this also is having some people like saying, yo, you mean to tell me that Canelo Alvarez was pretty much in a 3-fight deal with Premier Boxing Champions, and his fights are the following: Jermell Charlo, Jaime Munguia, Edgar Berlanga. Crazy. That's come on, man. Is this what we're getting out of Canelo Alvarez here in his run through Premier Boxing Champions or Hamer Boxing or whatever you want to call it? Now, when they initially had that deal signed, it was like, oh, Canelo could have these big fights. He could be fighting at the time, before we knew about Maul being all messed up, Jamal Charlo. It could have been, yeah, exactly. Talk trend. Shout out to you. Yep, that was one of those things. That was part of the plan. It would have been Spence if Spence had defeated Bud Crawford. They were looking at that as a potential fight, or pretty much being at the back end of the deal there with Canelo Alvarez. But with Crawford having that performance there last year, pretty much a year ago, where he ended up stopping Errol Spence, that kind of like delayed those plans. But also on top of that, the whole thing that went down with Jamal Charlo kind of like nullified those plans, where you ended up having Jermell Charlo go in place of Jamal Charlo, right? So you had that whole thing there, 12-round bout, Jermell Charlo. Jamal Charlo doesn't necessarily get back in the ring until the tail end of the year last year. And you see what he had in his performance against Jose Benavidez Jr. So even if they were saying that maybe there could have been a possibility of a fight between Canelo Alvarez and Jamal Charlo for May, that would have been the May of this year, that ended up being scrapped out. So that's why you had pretty much Jaime Munguia being inserted in as the opponent, therefore, as it was May 4th, right? So you had that. Now you're going to have Canelo Alvarez facing Edgar Berlanga, and that would be the last fight while under the agreement there with Heyman Boxing and PBC. So you don't get David Benavidez. You don't even get like a David Morrell Jr. You don't get none of that, and it's just crazy that it would be someone like an Edgar Berlanga. I've kind of went through his, immediate resume. Had the win over Patrick McQuarrie. Has a win over Jason Quigley. That unanimous decision win over Roman Alexis Angulo in June of 2022, where that fight was just, awful. That was just awful, sloppy type of fight. Had his fight against Steve Rolls. Had his fight against, the best at it, Nicholson, where that particular fight was where that knockout streak ended. So he's kind of had these bouts where it's been, those 8-round bouts, then a few 10-round bouts there, and then he's had 2 12-round bouts there. And he had that performance against Patrick McQuarrie. And I don't know how, but that ended up being like a quote unquote eliminator of sorts, man. So it is what it is with that, man. Shout out Jesus Sim, man. Just real quick. Hey, nah, man. This is all Canelo. This is all Canelo. This has to be all Canelo on this one. Like, you mean to tell me that you're gonna allow Canelo Alvarez to basically get what, about a $30 million guarantee minimum? You know what I'm saying? That's crazy work. Shout out to my guy G Funky Boxing, man. What's good with you, man? Hope everything is well with you, over there in the West Coast, and everything is good with you on your side, man. It's been a minute since we seen you around, so hopefully everything is all good there with you, G Funky. Back to the thing, man. Like I was saying, you got Canelo, man. It's like I said, Jamel Charlo, Jaime Munguia, Edgar Berlanga. That's crazy work. It's crazy work. And of course, some have kind of like, criticized, his thing there as far as like being, the undisputed champion there at super middleweight, with his wins over Callum Smith, Billy Joe Saunders, and Caleb Plant in order to become undisputed. You know what I'm saying? With also fights against Abney Yildirim, Gennady Golovkin, John Ryder, and I mentioned them other two fights that happened, of course, in September of last year and May of this year. And you also add in, that fight against Dimitri Bivol, where he kind of like, tried his luck there against Dimitri Bivol and, didn't necessarily, get it done. So this super middleweight run, I don't know, man. I don't know. Amazon Prime. They listen. It's Amazon Prime. Come on, you know that. Credit to bank boss Canelo can't do no wrong. He says 11-month undisputed run, record breaking or whatever it is. I mean, he's been undisputed since actually 2021, so to speak, and had 1, 2, 3, 4 defenses of those undisputed super middleweight titles. But now, this particular fight on September 14th won't necessarily be for the undisputed super middleweight titles. The International Boxing Federation had, made that order for Canelo to fight William Skull. But come on, y'all. Come on, man. Everybody knew that Canelo Alvarez wasn't going to be facing a William Skull. Come on, y'all. Actually, if I'm not mistaken, William Skull was on the undercard of Canelo's last fight against Jaime Munguia. William Skull actually had an 8-round bout against Sean Hemphill on that undercard. And they had ordered that whole thing with the IBF mandatory, and the IBF be IBFing. So you have another undisputed champion that had an IBF title that got stripped. We saw what happened with Terrence Crawford having the IBF title stripped, and now Jerron Ennis is an IBF welterweight champion. Now we got Canelo Alvarez stripped of the IBF here. But William Skull ain't no interim champion, so he will end up having to fight for the vacant IBF title. And of course, the rankings out there, you got William Skull at number 1. You got Vladimir Shishkin there at number 2. So eventually they'll end up fighting for that vacant IBF title. We've been talking about that particular fight happening for almost a year and a half. So that'll probably, end up happening. Yeah. So you got that. Jesus says, Mexico boxer, now Puerto Rican boxer. What a selling point. I don't know, man. It's Canelo. It's Canelo. He says, want William Skull to get a payday. Not Berlanga has money. I mean, he has something. But to actually get this opportunity, I feel like a number of fight fans are really, really upset that Edgar Berlanga is getting this particular opportunity. He's won the quote unquote sweepstakes, Canelo sweepstakes, in order to have the fight against Canelo Alvarez at this point. Bud or Usyk don't defend undisputed belts. Well, Bud Crawford hasn't. He's been the undisputed champion at super lightweight. He moved up to welterweight. He's been an undisputed champion at welterweight. He has his next fight here coming up August 3rd at super welterweight. Alexander Usyk, on the other hand, he's had at least one defense of the undisputed cruiserweight titles. Yeah, that's right. He's had at least one defense of those undisputed titles there when he faced Tony Bellew in 2018. So at least he's able to do it once, right? But here, as champion in heavyweight, like I said, the IBF be IBFing, and they also stripped Alexander Usyk of the IBF heavyweight title. That's why you have Dubois and Joshua fighting for that IBF heavyweight title in September. You know what I'm saying? And yeah, man, fight with Canelo Alvarez is hitting the boxing lottery. Yep. I mean, you kind of like had it like that. You know, it's no different than, what's happened in the past, with Floyd Mayweather, with Oscar De La Hoya, to a certain extent, maybe Sugar Ray Leonard or Muhammad Ali. We kind of like, discussed this in the past. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, if you're able to secure that particular bout, of course, that's going to be without question your highest payday. Yeah, you also have another fighter that has, risen up in the ranks as far as like being a star there, and Gervonta Tank Davis. So you could also have that same thing if you get a fight or secure a fight with Tank Davis right now. But with Canelo, it's crazy. You know what I'm saying? That he was able to go through this particular thing. You know what I'm saying? That go through this run, particularly at super middleweight, and then have this deal here with PBC, a multi-fight deal, where he's fought, the fighters that he's fought here up to this point. Yeah, he also had like a one-off where he fought Caleb Plant in order to fight for the undisputed super middleweight titles. But then when he secured that multi-fight deal with PBC, a number of fight fans were excited about it, thinking that there would be, some huge fights on the horizon there involving Canelo Alvarez. But now it's like, hey, this is what we got. This is what we got. And I would like to see, what happens afterwards, because if this is part of that 3-fight deal with Heyman Boxing and PBC, what does Canelo do next? Yeah, I know that there's been some speculation as far as like having Canelo be involved with, Turkey Al Sheikh in Riyadh season. I don't know about all that. So after this, I'm not too sure that Canelo Alvarez moves forward with like facing of course, like a David Benavidez number 1, or even a Terrence Crawford number 2. So that's gonna be something there, man. Jesus M says Canelo needs Berlanga because he doesn't sell with school. Yeah, so the narrative could be that he makes money with anybody is false. Yeah, that was one thing, right? If Canelo is that dude, then I guess you could throw any opponent there as long as it's Canelo Alvarez, it'll sell. Well, I mean, you had the whole thing where they worked out something with William Skull to begin with, because William Skull looked like he was the first in line as far as like mandatory challengers there for the undisputed super middleweight titles. And well, like I said before, ain't no way that Canelo was going to be fighting a William Skull. That wasn't going to happen. But even with this, with Edgar Berlanga, we will see how many people are interested in this particular fight. You will have a pre-sale that starts on Monday for tickets for this particular fight card. That will also include Erislan de Lara versus Danny Garcia for Erislan de Lara's WBA middleweight title. Okay, so do have that as part of the card. It's also, kind of like reported that we could have the fight between Caleb Plant and Trevor McCumbee being pushed back to this particular card as part of the Amazon Prime pay-per-view, and also another fight that was scheduled to be on that August 17th card that was supposed to be over in Orlando. Stephen Fulton, Ronnie Rios. That looks like that could be part of the card as well. So Amazon Prime pay-per-view, you could have those 4 fights included on that. You know what I'm saying? Shout out to D-Town. I'm not gonna be able to put up the link here because I'm only gonna be on here for a few minutes. Because like I said, it's only about like 11:20 right now over in the East Coast. Don't want to be too late, with this and all that type of stuff. So you do. So hopefully next time around, when we have a live show a little bit earlier in the day, then if you're able to be on, then we'll have you jump on and chop it up here for a little bit. You know what I'm saying? So not this time around, but hopefully I'll be able to catch you there next time, man. What is it? What is it? Eubank Jr. next. You know what's crazy is the thing was I wasn't necessarily too confident initially that Canelo was going to fight Benavidez, and I thought it was going to be Eubank Jr. because Eubank Jr. had secured like a new multi-fight deal with Boxer, and then maybe that they would offer Canelo Alvarez, a certain amount of money for him to fight over in the UK. So, hey, listen, after this thing here with Berlanga, like I said, that PBC deal is pretty much done, unless if they said that they signed an extension with Canelo Alvarez, which I don't know all too much about that. So that would leave Canelo to be free to do whatever it is. And he kind of like talked about it, some time ago, that he would want to fight for like another 5 years or so. Well, looks like if he has fights like this, it may be likely that he could be able to continue for 5 more years. Heavy Chevy guy says Canelo ain't got to do nothing but sit back and count his money. Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. Canelo Lara too. Yo, that would be crazy. What if they had a rematch between Canelo and Lara there at super middleweight? That would be crazy, man. He says Canelo really wants Jake Paul and Conor McGregor. You know what? Some people said, they would have even been able to, quote unquote, accept a fight between Canelo Alvarez and Jake Paul, because it would kind of like be, I don't know, like anything that would, bring, those that are necessarily, it would bring casual fans to watch an event. It would basically be an event, like how they were trying to sell Jake Paul versus Mike Tyson. They sold that as an event. And we got to see if they're going to still have Jake Paul versus Mike Tyson in November over in the Dallas area there in Arlington, Texas, AT&T Stadium. But for Canelo Alvarez there real quick, I think some people would probably be able to be more interested in a fight between Canelo Alvarez and Jake Paul than this. That's crazy. It's an in-house. I don't know. Well, I don't know about mismatches though. Lara versus Garcia. I don't know, but G Funky says that he's picking Erislandy Lara to defeat Danny Garcia. Well, what was that fight with Danny Garcia versus Jose Benavidez Jr.? That was 2 years ago, wasn't it? Over at the Barclays Center, right? Yeah, that was 2 years ago at the Barclays Center. And we haven't seen Danny Garcia in the ring since. We thought after that particular fight that he would have another fight at 154, maybe against who was it? Tony Harrison or something like that. But nope. Then they were talking about Danny Garcia potentially fighting Erislandy Lara pretty much like last year. Fight never materialized. Now we finally get that fight. And it's going to be interesting to see how Danny Garcia performs here after being on the shelf for pretty much 2 years. Matt Gomez says Berlanga should have tested himself against Danny Jacobs. Is Danny done? Hey man, I listen. He had that bout there against Shane Mosley Jr. and didn't look like he was, all too sharp in that particular bout. Shane Mosley Jr. scored a pretty sizable decision win over him. So, but nah, I think Berlanga should have fought like the likes of a Diego Pacheco. You know what I'm saying? Shoot, even a Williams Cole. He could have fought a Williams Cole. You know what I'm saying? Vladimir Shishkin, like I said, a Lester Martinez, a Beck the Bully, or something. You know what I'm saying? But he's able to secure this bout against Canelo Alvarez, man. That's crazy. That's crazy. Shout out to Billis in the building, man. He says Danny Garcia is about to become a 3-time champ, or three division champ, 140, 147, and now 160. Man, I don't know, man. Erislandy Lara looks like he's been sitting on his punches a lot here, while being at middleweight. So, I don't know. He said Danny Garcia is taking a dive, collect a payday there from Heyman. Said Berlanga moved up there for 160 way too fast. Yeah, I don't know, man. Like he had been, floating around there 160, 162 or whatever it is. So when he was building up his record, there while being under top rank, he ended up, being around that 165 pounds or whatever it is. So he was going to be there at super middleweight regardless. So now that he's kind of like solidified himself in the super middleweight division, he still had to have those type of fights to kind of like say that, oh, maybe he's a viable contender here. Like this is his first world title opportunity, and he basically gets it against an undisputed super middleweight champion in Canelo Alvarez. Yeah, that's crazy work. Yeah, Munguia would be a good fight for Berlanga. It would have been a good fight for Berlanga. And it's crazy because, we just had news earlier this week in reference to Jaime Munguia having signed a co-promotional deal with Top Rank. So looks like, they might be trying to angle for Jaime Munguia versus Christian and Billy or something like that. With Christian and Billy, he has a fight against Sergey Derevyanchenko coming up. What is that, August 17th, right? And so you could have a really pivotal battle there at super middleweight between Christian and Billy and Jaime Munguia. You know what I'm saying? Shout out to Dakota Kid there in the building, man. He said there's going to be fireworks. Does that mean that he bites? No. I don't know, man. He might bite him, scratch him. Wait a minute. Did Berlanga bite Romer Alexis Angulo in that fight a couple years ago? I think that pretty much like happened. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, Tippy says like, hey, Al Heyman hate is nasty work. So yeah, man, that's the thing. And when you talk about Louis the Cubist, Al Heyman has been away from the company, of course. We had the situation there with his moms and whatnot. I think maybe dealing with some other issues as well. But at least for the time being that some fighters that he works with, or some fighters that he manages, they've been able to move around a little bit. They've been able to have fights here and there, or they've been able to sign with other promotional companies so that they'll be able to set themselves up to be active for this year. So you do have that, man. We got Canelo beating Berlanga in under 5.5. So you got the over. What do you have the over under at? Do you have it at 5.5 or 6.5? Actually, you know what? Yeah, I got to know that answer, because I would be able to have an answer for the over under as long as you call out the amount of rounds for it. Because one of those two, I'll be like, yeah, we'll see. But yeah, they're Berlanga, man. Like I said, he's there at 22-0, 27 years old. With a height, he's at a height at 6'1", with a reach of 73. Canelo Alvarez is there at 5'7.5" with a reach of 70. But like that really matters much there for Canelo Alvarez in a sense. He's faced a number of fighters that are taller than him, have the reach and all that type of stuff. But as long as they don't have a punch that makes Canelo respect him, he'll be able to walk through all of that. So the thing with Berlanga is, would he be able to have the power or the speed to really keep Canelo at bay? I just don't think he has the overall technique, anywhere close to really being able to compete there with Canelo Alvarez. You know what I'm saying? Jesus Sim says, "What has Danny Garcia done to get a title belt? Zip, nada." Oops, did I pretty much disclose that? I think so. But I mean, come on. Y'all know how the game goes when it comes to these boxing organizations, how you're able to get in these rankings. It's not just about, fighting and who you fighting, who you beat. I'll just say that, because if I tell you, how a lot of these things work, you'd be able to see like how the boxing game goes sometimes. Why do you think that there's been multiple instances of fighters or representatives of fighters suing these boxing organizations? But that kind of like gives you a clue there. But yeah, back at it. So yeah, that's pretty much mainly what I wanted to do. I have the reaction there, live reaction. Like I said, it's crazy work. Just want to run through it one more time. I said it yesterday when you had the decision by David Benavidez to say that he will keep the WBC interim title at 175 pounds. I said there's only pretty much one reason why he made that decision, is because he knew that if he tried to move down to 168 and he didn't get that fight against Canelo Alvarez next, then it was a waste of time. So he said, "Yo, will we get that fight with Canelo Alvarez next at 168? It ain't work out nothing. It is what it is." Feel me? What's going on, man? L Boxing in the building. What's up with you, man? Salute to you, man. Yeah, like I was saying before, if you weren't gonna have that fight against Canelo Alvarez at 168, what's the point of going back down to 168? What fight would you have at 168 outside Canelo Alvarez that would be worth anything to you? That would be any different than being at 175 and potentially either fighting for a vacant title there with the WBC or waiting for the winner of Bivol Beterbiev. But like I mentioned there yesterday, I'm still not all too certain about Artur Beterbiev being able to be ready to have a fight there October 12th against Dimitri Bivol. So while they may have those plans for David Benavidez to have a fight in the interim in December and say that, hey, I want the winner of Bivol Beterbiev and try to take over that May date for 2025, I still have my doubts in reference to Artur Beterbiev making it to October to face Dimitri Bivol, given his injury and the amount of time it takes for him to basically recover. So I don't know with all that. But with that being said, David Benavidez, is going ahead and moving forward, campaigning at 175, and here we are, just pretty much a day later, we get this announcement of Canelo Alvarez versus Edgar Berlanga. So what that tells you is, what it was like a week ago. Remember, a week ago, it was supposed to be that time when David Benavidez made that particular choice if he was going to stay at 175 or go back down to 168. So, at least from my perspective, Canelo Alvarez and his team pretty much made that deal with Edgar Berlanga at that particular time. So there you go. But a lot of people are like very disappointed at this. I'd be really interested in getting more from David Benavidez about this. He's scheduled to have, I think, a meet and greet or workout meet and greet this Saturday. It was supposed to be scheduled for last Saturday, but he had some issues, like trying to get back into this side of the world. At that particular time, he had been on vacation, was trying to get back, had some delays. Of course, we know about what happened on Friday. So, hey, I feel you on that. So reschedule it. Now he's going to have it over in his area this weekend. So I would like to hear from David Benavidez in reference to that whole little ordeal, because it just looked like Canelo and his team really wasn't interested in making any type of fight there with David Benavidez there at 168. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, you got the meet and greet over there. I think it's what you said, 10 o'clock to 2 o'clock or whatnot. So yeah, I was looking at that joint, man. He did have that joint on there, so they had like reposted it. What is it? David Benavidez or Benavidez 300? Yeah. So yeah, he had that thing there, man. So this Saturday at 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. over in Arizona, that's where he has that meet and greet. So yeah, man, if it's possible for you to try to get some words there from David Benavidez on, and his reaction to what's going on, that would be awesome. That would be awesome, man. Hey, we got Steph in the building, man. What's going on with you, Steph? What's going on with you? Like I said, you're gonna have, the Mexican Monster there with a lot to say about what's going on and what's going down, and that I would want somebody to like pretty much like ask him, like, did you pretty much know that Canelo Alvarez was going in that particular direction to fight Edgar Berlanga, and that is why you made the decision to have your interim title at 175 instead of 168. You know what I'm saying? Let's see. So, like, Al Heyman always calls the shots whether he's there or not. Depends on the fighter. I'll just say that. David Morrell would drop Berlanga and Munguia. Yeah, of course. David Morrell would wash both of them. David Morrell Jr. will wash both of them. And we're going to see David Morrell Jr. in action August 3rd against Radovic Kalajic. Part of that card in BMO Stadium, of course, headlined by Terrence Crawford versus Israel Madrimov. So that's part of a large card there as well on the DAZN pay-per-view. Okay, so there's that. Now, that's pretty much it. Wanted to have this thing real short. Like I said, what is it, about 11:40 Eastern time? And that's the thing about it, is that this is just absolutely crazy work, because we had like some things that were kind of like put out there that maybe Canelo wouldn't fight on September 14th. Maybe it had a little bit later on down the line, or not necessarily be in conflict with the UFC event that's over at the Sphere on the same night, or other boxing events that will be happening later on in the month. Nope. Nope. Went on ahead and just did this. So you're gonna see, I guess we'll see some comments there from Canelo Alvarez later on down the line. And like I said, in a couple of days, with David Benavidez having a meet and greet over in Glendale, Arizona, there from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. or whatnot. It's gonna be a crazy scene out there in Glendale, Arizona. As long as you're able to take that heat down in Arizona there in the summer, man. Yeah, that heat is crazy. You know what I'm saying? But that's pretty much what I have. Like I said, I'll be back at it on Sunday. here for the Boxing Source podcast for anyone that like joined in and share their thoughts if they got something on there. For that, if you can, just hit the like button on your way out. Hit the share button. For folks to also share their reactions, be able to hit the comments on there. You see the thing there as far as like cash apps to support the movement, to sponsor the Boxing Source or whatever it is. And like I said, man, absolutely crazy work by Canelo Alvarez there, because this is kind of like sending the message that not only he is not really inclined to fight David Benavidez, at least not now, but given that this is likely the last fight under the Premier Boxing Champions banner, maybe he's not really in the plans of having big events, so to speak, in the foreseeable future. But we'll see what happens, particularly after September, how this goes. But for now, absolutely crazy work there from Canelo Alvarez. Just pretty much putting it out there. But you go ahead and share your thoughts, those that are watching the replay. And I'll catch y'all folks later. Peace out.